This is as gut-wrenching as it gets. I'm still feeling the effects even 48 hours later. Rest in peace, Roy Halladay. So we at the Bitter Birds here tonight, we're going to discuss a little bit of what Roy Halladay meant to the city of Philadelphia. He was only here for 4 years. It felt like a lot more. It's crazy, how much of an impact he made in such little time. But we're going to talk about him today. Tony Del Grasso, got your name right that time. Kyle Gaffner, both here. I am Adrian Fedque. So what are you guys' thoughts, man? I mean, what was Roy Halladay to you guys?
I feel like this guy, it seems like he came up through our system, even though he was only here for such a short time. He was blue collared. I feel like he was Philly through and through, with his work ethic and everything that he was. I mean, he was as close to a saint as you can get. I mean, the guy was a great person overall, a great player. And it's just gut wrenching for somebody that's so great of a person to just leave this world so quickly. But as they say, the good die young, but it's just I'm still at a loss of words for, Roy Halladay. It's awful.
Yeah, like you said, it felt like he was here for a lot longer than he was. I think part of that is because he was here during good years, and also because Ruben Amaro was trying to trade for him years before he actually ended up trading for him. So he was always in Philly rumors, and I think Chase Utley, the great Chase Utley, kind of summed it up best when describing him. And I'll paraphrase, but he was talking about the first time they met in spring training, about how it was 5:45 a.m. and he walked in and Halladay was sitting there eating breakfast and he was drenched. And Utley said, "Well, was it raining outside or something?" And Halladay said, "No, I just finished my workout." And Roy Halladay was like that since day one of his career, and it rubbed off on everyone else. Not just the pitching staff, but all position players. And it's just really, really, really sad because all you hear about is stories exactly like that from so many different people. And Halladay was going to do a lot of great things with the rest of his life. Unfortunately, shit happens.
Yeah. And it's what he was off the field. That's what really gets me. I mean, you hear the story of, the SI cover and how they had the 4 aces. Well, Roy Halladay's like, nah, I ain't taking part in this cover shoot unless Joe Blanton's a part of it. We have 5 aces.
Yeah.
He sent Carlos Ruiz a replica of his Cy Young trophy.
That's awesome.
Complete class.
Yeah.
Unlike what some other people think in Boston. We'll get into that later. We're going to rip those assholes apart. But what he was on the mound, I mean, a fiery competitor, just multiple pitches where he can nip both corners of the plate. Just his command was excellent. The longevity that he had. I mean, basically led the league in complete games every single year. There was a stretch from 2003 to 2011 where he led the league 7 out of 9 times, the league that he was in complete games. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, I think some of his complete game records, in my opinion, will never be touched again. I think DiMaggio's record will be reached before some of Halladay's complete game records because you simply do not see guys going the length of games he did anymore. He was absolutely incredible. He was one of the best 3 or 4 pitchers in baseball for a solid decade plus, and he was just absolutely beautiful to watch pitch. He didn't have incredible power, but he put every pitch he had exactly where he wanted to, whenever he wanted to. And just talk about keeping hitters off balance. It was beautiful to watch him pitch.
Yeah, and when every time he'd step on the man, you knew he was going to get the win for you, just because that's how dominant he was. I would have to say he was one of the most masterful pitchers to watch, in our lifetime, next to Clayton Kershaw. I mean, the guy was just impeccable. And when we got him, you for sure thought we were going to win at least 2 or 3 World Series with him at the top of our lineup. I mean, it was just a sure thing. I mean, he brought those 2 no-hitters that won in the playoff game. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I'll never forget that. That was just amazing to watch. I mean, just the 20 game winners that he had. Didn't he lead the league in strikeouts? as well, a few years. I mean, the guy was just complete dominant. Like you said, Tony, he didn't have the most powerful stuff, but I feel like he just put a spin on the ball, and it was pinpoint location where it's just he kept hitters off balance.
Yeah, he knew how to pitch. I mean, he was almost, to me, he was almost like a bigger version of Greg Maddux. Like, you know,
Ooh,
and especially
yeah.
you look at the beginning of both of their careers, they actually weren't dominant. They weren't even that great their first 2-3 years, but once they figured it out, they really fucking figured it out and became dominant. Yeah, he was. I think the 2010 season as a Phillies fan is probably the most dominant pitching season I can remember in my lifetime. Like you said before, Kyle, when he pitched, you knew they were going to win that day.
Yeah. I'm glad he threw that no-hitter in the division series because I remember when he threw the perfect game in Florida. It was during Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. He threw it in a stadium where there was 50 people in it. So I'm glad he was able to get, you know, all the attention that, you know, he deserved. But you know what? He doesn't really care about the attention, does he?
No, nor the awards. I just feel like he was just team camaraderie, everything. The guy was just complete class. Like you said, he was not a selfish player. It was all about the team, all about winning. I just wish we could have won a championship for him. And I thought maybe when he joined the Phillies organization that somehow he'd win it with being, you know, whatever his title was with the Phillies, that he could get one that way. Or I could even see him being a coach or a skip later down in his career. I mean, the guy had great things ahead of him, and just to be cut so short, it's just, you know, it's sad.
Yeah, speaking of coaching, I don't know if this has been confirmed or not, but I did see a report saying that he had planned on being an instructor with the Phillies this season down in the spring training complex in Clearwater, which makes sense because he used to live right there.
Yeah.
And I saw a picture of him actually, I guess it was Monday. He was standing up in front of a PowerPoint in front of Phillies minor leaguers, talking, doing something, just sharing his abundant wisdom. So yeah, like I said, you know, it's a shame because I think some of his best days were certainly ahead of him. You know, it's just super sad. You look at the last thing he posted on Twitter was with his boys' baseball team, like 11 and 12 or something, that age range. They had just won a tournament, and you know, that's the kind of guy he was. I remember his agent actually mentioned how he refused to ever be the highest paid pitcher in baseball. He had a couple different opportunities, but didn't want that, didn't want the attention that comes with that. It's just, you know, like you said, Kyle, only the good die young, and he was definitely one of the good guys.
He was a different breed, man. He just was. And he was the best pitcher of our time, of our generation. You know?
Yeah.
So you look at his career statistics: 3.38 ERA in 16 seasons, 8 All-Star games from 2002 to 2011. Strikeout to walk ratio 4.57. So the question now is, can he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? Because when you look at it, since World War II, the only Hall of Fame starter with fewer wins than Roy Halladay is Sandy Koufax. So I think he should be first ballot.
For sure. I think he's a shown to be first ballot. I don't think there should be any questions about it. Like you said, he was the most dominant. I think the best pitcher of our time, for sure. You know how hard it is to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. There's been guys on there that you figured would be, you know, shoo-ins that haven't been, that have been on there for 10, 15 years. But I definitely think he should be a shoo-in, first ballot.
Yeah, and another thing about his numbers you also have to factor in is that he was playing in Toronto for the majority of them, which is one of the best hitters parks in baseball, added on to the American League East, which is just a hellhole for pitchers, and playing in an inflated home run era and whatnot. And, you know, if he had pitched in the 60s or 70s, you're talking about an ERA that probably would have been barely over 2 instead of barely over 3. So, yeah, in my opinion, yes, he's a Hall of Famer. Like I said, he was one of the best handful of pitchers in baseball for over a decade, and I think that qualifies.
Yeah, and obviously the game is evolving now where wins are less prevalent than they were before. You know, like Like basically, you basically had to win like 300 games to get into the Hall of Fame, and now it's just it's different now. The game has changed, and we're seeing it change even more. Starters just aren't going deep in the games anymore.
And you think that would be to conserve the pitcher's, career, save their arms, make them go a little bit longer. I don't know if they just aren't built like they used to be or what have you, but I think it's a good thing. And I feel like they should change a little bit because it was so hard to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I know it's an honor to get in there, and you just don't want everybody to get in. But like you said, if you're not getting 3,000 hits or 600, 500 home runs, you're not getting into the Hall of Fame. And there's definitely guys that deserve to be in there that don't have those type of numbers.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get into Mike Felger, this fucking asshole. So if it were me, I would have fired him mid-rant. He would have been gone. This guy, this moron, this idiot. How can you say that Roy Halladay got what he deserved? Ridiculous.
It's awful for you to even say, for somebody to even say something like that. I just think it's appalling. I think he's an obtuse fool. I think he's just a moron for saying that. You don't make an example out of somebody's life like that and call him an idiot. That just, to me, screams clickbait. You just want to go against the grain to get people's attention, for your radio show. It's disgusting. You don't say that to anybody. I don't care if you hate somebody. You don't come back from death, and it's disgusting for him to even say.
I think you put it this way: would that guy have ever said that to Roy Halladay's two sons' face? Obviously, no. So if you can't say it to the kids' faces, then obviously it's not something that should be said, or his wife.
Well, they're
fired on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, you buy, like people have been saying, you buy planes like that specifically to do what Roy Halladay was doing. It's not a commercial jet used to fly across the country. It's used to do tricks. It's used to have fun. It's used to be a thrill. Roy Halladay earned the right to have the money to buy a plane like that and go out and do that and enjoy it for, he's been doing it for a couple of years now. He's been flying, and he made one minor mistake, and he obviously paid the price for it. It's shit happens like that every single day to people, and he certainly didn't deserve it.
No. And then you got Tony Masserati. So that's Fegler's co-host on this. What is it? NBC Sports Boston was this radio show on? So this was his co-host. He was kind of silent during the rant, but then he defended the guy's comments afterwards. So he tweeted out, if you haven't seen the Halladay video, watch, and then try to tell me your thoughts haven't changed. So it's just not the time for that.
No, way too early for something like that. I mean, the kids and the wife haven't even had a chance to grieve yet, and you're basically saying that he deserves to die because of what Tony said. He earned the right to have fun on a plane. I mean, he had been flying for a couple years, and flying's dangerous altogether. I think it's just it's a death trap. Me or you or Tony could pass away in one of those things. I mean, there's no coming out of it. But if you saw the videos, he did post a couple videos when he was flying. I mean, you think about it, it's like, I know his wife tried to talk him out of buying the plane, but then when she was flying with him, it's like you look at the views, and it is an amazing thing to be flying in the air like that. It's just one minor mistake, it could be the end of you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, no matter how you slice it, it's just really, really sad, and it's nobody's fault, and it's life. What are you going to do?
It's a freak thing. I know it's the safest way to travel. They say your chances of dying in a plane crash are like 1 in, 3 million or something like that. You have a better chance of dying in a car. But when you're going that fast and you're hitting the water, and if you see the video, it looked like he would maybe thought he could skim across the water because it did look like a seaplane.
Well, I heard that plane actually is designed where you actually can land on the water.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see in the next, couple weeks or whatever, something comes out where maybe it was mechanical failure. Maybe he was, like I said, I haven't actually watched the video of it. I don't want to, but I'm just speculating. Maybe he was trying to land and the things didn't come out, or God knows what. it doesn't matter.
Well, you did read, right, that the engineer that created that plane actually died in that plane as well.
You have to like question the design of the plane. This is now the third death. This is a limited plane. So there's only what? How many? There's like 10. I could be wrong, but 10.
I think 100. I read one. Yeah.
3 out of 100 deaths. That's way too many.
In like 6 months, though.
Yes.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely had to be a mechanical thing. It has to.
So yeah, there's got to be something going on with the design or the mechanical, whatever. There's more going on than just pilot error. I think because you had 2 professionals. Or yeah, 2 other professionals. They passed away. I mean, the designer of the aircraft died.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That would make me question it right there. If he passed away in it, then you got to raise some questions. And I think you're right. Something will come out further on down the road. And I was wondering if somebody did catch it. Him going down. I figured they would because you can't go anywhere without being something caught on a phone or what have you. It's gut wrenching to see that video. It's sad to see because it looked like he was able to land it fine. I'm sure he was trying to do that, but like Tony said, shit happens.
Yeah, I heard that it was described as a jet ski with wings. It's like very simple, like just I don't know.
It's weird looking. It didn't look like it had, like, if you see most seaplanes, they've got those big buoys on the bottom that you could easily glide. This one didn't look like it had that. It looked like it was bottomless, and the cockpit was real small in the front.
Yeah.
So you're basically hitting water with that, nothing breaking your fall.
Yeah. Just tragic, man. Just sad. And this is not the first time that this has happened to Philadelphia athletes. Like this city is cursed. You've had Jerome Brown, you've had Pelly Lindbergh, Corey Lytle. Like I remember when Corey Lytle passed away. I got his autograph like a week or 2 before he passed, and I went to a game with my little brother. My little brother might have been like 10 at the time. I don't remember, but I got the autograph and I gave him the ball, and he still has the baseball. But like it's just like, man, I remember that happened. That was eerie. And then now this, it's this is basically the equivalent of like Jerome Brown. Like this is our generation's Jerome Brown. For the people like us that weren't really alive when Jerome Brown passed away, this is like the equivalent of that.
Huge blow. I agree. I know Jerome passed away very young in his career, but this was a huge blow to Philly sports, and I'm hoping the Phillies, and I think they will honor Roy Doc this year. I don't know if they'll put a patch on the jersey or what have you. You've seen what they've done down at CBP. Thought it was class at David Montgomery right after it happened to have an interview. Cole Hamill spoke on it, Chooch, all the guys that played with him back in the day. Utley, of course. So it is sad. The 34 will definitely be rocking there. And I hope he gets onto the Wall of Fame. I mean, under the circumstances, it sucks that he's going to get on there, for what has happened, but he deserves to go in Philly lore for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's sad because a lot of people are trying to make this out to be like, oh, well, if you're a professional athlete, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that, or, especially if you have a family and a wife and blah, blah, blah. And I just think that's bullshit. I think if there's anything to learn out of this, it's that everyone is human, everyone is fucking mortal, and shit could happen anytime, any day. And unfortunately, it seems like shit like this happens to the best people because Roy Halladay was I've never heard one bad account of Roy Halladay. And, sometimes when celebrities pass away, you hear all the good stuff about them, but people brush under the rug all the bad stuff you heard in years past. Even for as long as Roy Halladay was in Philadelphia, you never, ever heard one bad thing about him. All the stories you heard were, stories like you had heard in the past, and all you ever heard about was how good a teammate he was, his work ethic, this, that, and the other, and so none of those stories were embellished at all. He was just a really, really good dude that just unfortunately
he was a silent superstar.
Very humble. I remember the first day he arrived in Philly before they actually signed him. He was at a Sixers game. Watching, I forget. We were stinking at that time. We weren't any good, but there was speculation like, wow, Roy Halladay's in Philadelphia. Are they going to lock him up and sign him? And right after the Sixers game, the news broke that we signed Roy Halladay, and it was just great. He was just a very, very humble guy. He was there with his family watching the Sixers game, but close to a Saint, I think that you can get.
Yeah, and it really is a shame he didn't win a World Series because I just remember when we acquired him, he was 33 years old at that point, but I was just like, holy shit. We already have the best team in baseball, and now we have the best pitcher in baseball. Like, I was so excited, man. And I remember back then, the 4 baby aces and how some people didn't really want Kyle Drabeck to go in the deal. I'm like, gosh, man, just give up whatever you can get to get Roy Halladay.
Yeah. Remember we were holding on to Don Brown too, like they didn't want him to be a part of that package. But you give whatever you can get to acquire a pitcher like Roy Halladay, and that was right after we came off that sour loss from New York in the World Series, and you thought that's the year we won 102 games too, I believe.
And you have to give credit to Ruben Amaro for that deal too, because like you just mentioned, Drabeck. I don't even remember who else they gave up in that deal. Drabeck was the biggest name. He turned out to be something. Was it like Anthony Bird or somebody like that? It was
nothing. There was nobody. And Anthony Ghost was in it.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
Right. It was
nobody's.
Drabeck was supposed to be good, but he
never panned out. And you never know with prospects. That's the thing.
There was 4 baby aces, they said. I'm trying to remember all of them. You had Trevor May, didn't pan out. Jared Cosart was good for in Florida, right?
Yeah, in Florida.
Or in Miami for a year, but he hasn't really done much since, right? Correct?
No, he hasn't done nothing.
Who else was part? You had who was the lefty? What's his name? The big curveball. I don't know if he was part of the baby aces though. And there was another one too. I'm blanking who they are already.
Wait, that's traded or?
Just in the system, I think he was talking about that were coming up in the system during that era. After the 4 aces were there, we had 4 pitching prospects. I remember Cosart and Drabeck were the 2 top runners. I can't think of the other 2 of them.
Trevor May was the guy with the curveball, and then there was one more. I'm just blanking. It wasn't Carlos Carrasco. I think Carrasco was before.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah. Carrasco's actually panned out in Cleveland pretty well.
Yeah, he's been nice.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other guy. I can't. Gosh. I've been saying gosh too much today.
Wait,
that's the Doug Peterson
effect. Gio Gonzalez, are you?
No, he was.
That was way before.
Hold on.
I will think of the name.
I'm looking it up now.
I really remember I really remember Cosart. That was the guy that was supposed to be, the big one.
Trevor May, Julio Rodriguez, Brody Colvin.
God.
Jonathan Pettibone. Remember Pettibone?
Oh my God, Pettibone.
I'm pretty sure Brody Colvin is the guy I'm thinking of.
There was 4 of them. It was Cosart, Pettibone, Trevor May.
Pettibone wasn't part of that 4 of them.
I put in baby aces, and those 4 guys came up.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Pettibone wasn't the guy. No, Jesse Biddle. That's who I was thinking.
The kid from Germantown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse. There you go.
Yeah, he stunk.
He had a great curveball, right? And he just didn't pan out.
Well, he had mental issues.
He might be with the Braves still. He was last I heard he was pitching in Double-A with them.
Yeah.
Good thing we missed out on him. That guy was a nutter for sure.
Well, he was. I mean, how often do you get a chance to select a first rounder who's actually from the city of Philadelphia?
Right.
He wasn't even a suburb kid. He was actually from Philly. He went to I don't know, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I was hoping a lot for him, and he had a lot of promise, and then he had mental breakdowns throughout, the season, and then that kind of just put him on a tailspin down.
He's got to be 27, 28 by now.
He's pretty much. I think he is like 27 or 28. He's pretty old now. Well, in baseball standards.
All right. So,
man, I remember he had that one good season, and then after that shoulder injury, he was just nothing after that. He stunk.
Yeah, Jesse Biddle.
So I'm looking at one of my old Bleacher Report articles that I wrote. So it was Biddle, May, Colvin, and Cosart. It was the report.
I wonder why they didn't come up. Weird. Biddle. I don't even know who this Holy Rodriguez guy is.
Julio Rodriguez?
Yeah, I've never heard of Brady Colvin either. Brody Colvin. I don't even know who that guy is either.
I remember Brody Colvin very well. Well, actually, clearly not because I couldn't think of his name, but I remember it back then. It was Colvin and Cosart were supposed to be the two like big ones.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, thank God, man. We gave up a lot of trash to get great talent too. So kudos to Ruben.
He's somewhere now.
I wonder what we'd have got if we did give up Don Brown in any of those deals, because he was the one untouchable in all trades.
Well, he could have. That's the thing. If you think about it, he could have potentially been on the 2009 team, I guess, if they would have given up Don Brown that year, right?
Right.
Yeah. Roy Halladay? Yeah, I think that's what it was. Like, Toronto wanted Don Brown, but they weren't budging on him, so that's why the deal, I think, faltered and fell back to the year after that.
All right. Well, that offseason then, after they lost to the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got nothing else on the agenda. You got anything? Anything else?
I just want to, say rest in peace and condolences to the Halladay family, and I just hope his kids can get through this.
That's who you feel for right now is the kids and the wife.
That's a huge, huge loss, and he's so young, 40 years old. I mean, come on. I know to lose a parent at that age, I can't imagine it. So, condolences to the Halladay family.
Yeah. If there's any silver lining, at least maybe you could kind of take peace in knowing that he died doing what he loved, because certainly probably after baseball, flying was a real close second in terms of his passions in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly, condolences to the kids and the wife and whole family. Just a shame.
Yeah.
Really sad.
Yeah, it was gut wrenching, man. Like so you heard the confirmation around 4:30. We kind of like assumed that it was him from reading all the tweets. That it was licensed. His plane was the one that was licensed or whatever they said.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the PI podcast on Tuesday night. I just couldn't function, man. Like I couldn't do it. I told Sean before I got there, I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to carry the show tonight because I ain't gonna be able to talk. I ain't gonna be able to talk.
Sad.
I was very sad that I couldn't think at all.
You just think it's like, I'm just hoping it's, you just want to wake up from a bad dream. It's not. And if you want to get another positive out of it, luckily his wife wasn't with him too. So those kids would have been orphaned then.
Like, it's a good thing there was no one else in the plane. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. God. And then Tony brought this up pre-show. It was like, we all were like praying that it wasn't Roy Halladay. Well, at the end of the day, it would have been somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
There was like that weird 45 minutes where we were waiting for it to actually be confirmed. And the millions of people around Philadelphia were like, please not Roy Halladay. But it's kind of like, yeah, it basically means we're wishing someone else's death instead. So
yeah.
No matter how you slice it, it sucks.
And it was also pretty disgusting how other people were using his death to, basically up their Twitter account.
Yeah.
With the confirmation and like these people who clearly don't have sources saying that he died. Like, come on. So I called somebody out on Twitter for it.
Good.
I'm not going to name names, but let's just say that no notes needed.
Ah!
Yeah. That freaking guy.
That guy.
The attention whore.
That guy.
That guy.
Yeah, when you started to see multiple reports come in, that's when you knew it was kind of true.
Yeah, so basically, that guy assumed he died, and he tweeted out, "Oh, here's what my sources said." Bullshit. You don't have no fucking sources.
Oh God! Wow! Wow!
There you go.
Wow!
And the way he even went about it, like, because a lot of people tweeted him back, like, just really offended by, what he was doing, and he was being a fucking clown to him, like, "Oh, I'm right," like, da 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 da, like, see, facts came out, I was right. Like, you want a cookie for being right?
Yeah, why don't you?
Dude's death, man.
Somebody just died. Like, who cares about you being right or wrong or what have you? Like, it's about being a human.
And look, it's kind of just like the dudes in Boston. You know they reacted that way.
This is just as bad as the dudes in Boston.
Like,
just as bad.
If it had been Big Poppy who had died in a plane crash, totally different reaction. But because it was a Philadelphia athlete, instead of just being a fucking human being, they still couldn't separate it and be like, it's sad.
No notes. Worse than the business.
You're right. You let a grudge or something like that. It's like at the end of the day, we have our rivalries. You don't want to see anybody die, though. It's like me saying, "Oh, I hope Noah Syndergaard goes and does something." They're a huge rivalry of the Phillies, but I don't want no death on nobody, regardless of what colors they fly. We're all human beings at the end of the day, and you have to have some type of heart. You can't be cold-blooded like that. It's disgusting.
It is cold-blooded because, like, Sean had some information, and he just didn't want to share it. He was just like, "This isn't the time for it." Like he called a guy that he knew in Clearwater, and kind of got confirmation he knew, like, before it actually happened, and they also heard about the stunting, flying low on the water. He knew about that too. We actually talked about it on the PI podcast. So Sean had some information, but he's just like, "No, this isn't the time for it." But then you have other people that are trying to take advantage of it, and that's sickening.
Yeah, no, it is. It is just for ratings, and I hate it. It's like those people when we were talking about those people that were just filming it, like not trying to see if, hey, I know that wreck was completely demolished and it didn't look like there was any survivors, but you don't know. You would hope if that was me, man, I'd be diving in that water to see if that person was okay, as opposed to sitting there with my phone and filming the whole thing. It's like people that were filming the whole Paul Walker thing, even though he knew he was pretty much dead, but still could have been unconscious. You don't know. You got to check first. That's sad. Hate it.
Very sad.
I got nothing else. Anything else? Are we done?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's it.
Rest in peace, Zach.
Yep.
For sure. Hopefully we can win something for him in his honor, like we almost did for HK. I hope we can just honor him in the best way possible and win something for him.
Yeah. All right. There it is. That's the end of the show. Rest in peace, Roy Halladay, Kyle Gaffner, Tony Del Grasso. I always think Del Grosso, but it's Del Grasso. So there it is. We're out of here. I'm going to go watch his perfect game right now, actually. That's probably what I'm going to do.
Nice.